There are a couple of keywords available in Gherkin, and the cheat sheet for Gherkin keywords is rather small because there is a small number of keywords and they all fit here. So we have the feature keyword, the background, scenario, given, when, then, and, but, asterisk, scenario outline, examples, and cardinal. And we have already seen that cardinal is the beginning of comments. A Gherkin feature, we have already presented it. Just to make sure that you have understood it, everything written between the feature after the title and then the uncovering of the next Gherkin keyword will be included in the description and will be completely ignored. So Cucumber will not try to make a rationale over this description that you have provided. What are the keywords that Cucumber will look for after the feature and the title? He will look for scenario, background, or scenario outline. When he finds the scenario, he will then understand that the scenario has a title, and then each line introduces a new step per line and starting with a specific keyword. Besides the given, when, then, that actually promotes the establishment of a context, the action produced by the user or external system, and the validation stage, we can also have ands and buts that are also steps, and we can promote the usage of buts and ands according to what becomes more readable for the entire team to make an actual understanding of the scenario being written. If we look at one of the features that Gherkin allows us is to actually replace the first keyword in each step by an asterisk, we can actually see that this simplifies the syntax of the language. But on the other hand, it removes the simplicity and the readability that we once had. So for users and for humans, this is basically not quite as readable and not as easy to understand and that this previous scenario. But for Cucumber, basically, each step could start with something because they are all interpreted in the same way. So they could all be replaced with an asterisk. Now let's look at another keyword that is quite common in Gherkin, scenario outline. If we look closely at the two scenarios presented here as an example, we can actually see that they are almost alike. So we have something that is different between the first one and the second one that is related to the total amount of cucumbers that are available for eating. And basically, if you eat the same from a different total, you get the difference that is different. So in the first scenario, we eat 5 out of 12 and we keep 7 cucumbers. And in the other scenario, we eat 5 out of 20 and we keep 15 cucumbers. So when we have this kind of scenarios, and this is quite common, we can have many combinations. So how do we proceed in this case? The idea is to use the keyword scenario outline, where we actually have a title for the scenario outline. We then produce the steps that were common for each of the previous scenarios, and we replace the variables, the numbers that vary, by tags that are then presented as columns with an existing amount of options with an examples table. The idea is that this scenario will run per line of the examples table. So if I have an examples table with 10 entries, we will have the scenario run 10 times. Another example of scenario outline is presented here. So in the feature of account creation, I have a scenario outline that validates the password. Given I try to create an account with password, then I should see that the password is valid or invalid. And the examples include 3, 4, 5 examples of passwords. 3 of them are invalid and 2 of them are valid. We can also have, because as we have already seen, a scenario outline always implies an examples table, we can also have 2 examples tables with a couple of scenarios that should be ran. So in this case, for the password validation, we have separated the examples of passwords that are too short from the examples of passwords that have both letters and numbers. And we can actually see that in this case, the 2 tests that will be running will produce an invalid expected result, and in the other table, we will have 2 valid tests and 1 invalid test. Basically, the idea is to make sure that the system actually produces the same results, invalid for 2 short passwords and passwords that only have letters. Another quite common keyword from Gherkin is the Gherkin background. So this feature is a change pin feature where we actually have customers with cards and pins and they need to use those cards with pins in ATMs. And we have 2 scenarios, and they are 2 distinct scenarios. The first one is to actually change the pin successfully, and the other one is to try to change the pin to a previous pin, the actual and the current defined pin. What is similar in these 2 scenarios is something that could not be immediate when looking at all the steps, but basically what we have here between these 2 scenarios is that the first 3 steps of each scenario are exactly the same. And what happens when we have these kind of situations is that we use the background keyword to promote the reusage of the steps that are duplicated. So in this case, I will still have 2 distinct scenarios. Each scenario will have the steps, the specific steps for the scenario, and all that is common to both scenarios is available in the background. So for executing this kind of scenarios, we will start with the steps defined in the background for the first scenario and then promote the entire scenario. And then when starting the second scenario, we will establish the background for the second time and then proceed with the remaining steps of the scenario. So background promotes reusability and basically enables for a better readability of the feature file.